When we think about strength, when we think about power, our minds are often trained to look outward. We look to intellect, to wealth, to influence, to strategies, and to the material tools that the world has conditioned us to believe hold the ultimate force. But what we often overlook, what we underestimate, is that one of the most powerful forces within us is not hidden in the mind, not found in external resources, not even in the physical abilities of our bodies. It lies in the very core of our existence, in the silent yet unshakable rhythm of the heart. The heart has been spoken of as a mere organ that pumps blood, as a poetic symbol of love, or as a fragile place of emotions, but it is far more than that. It is the center of life, the seat of courage, and the channel through which true transformation flows. When we begin to understand and awaken the underestimated power of the heart, everything in our lives begins to shift in ways we could not have imagined. The first truth about the underestimated power of the heart is that it carries within it an intelligence that often surpasses what the mind alone can process. We live in a world where the mind has been crowned as the ultimate ruler, where logic, calculation, and reasoning are glorified as the highest forms of intelligence. From our earliest days in school, we are conditioned to believe that thinking is the answer to everything, that rationality is the only key to navigating life. And yet, if you pause for a moment and reflect on the most important decisions, the most life-changing choices, the moments that altered the direction of your destiny, you will realize that very often they were not born from endless analysis or logical deduction. They were born from a feeling, a whisper, a knowing that came from somewhere beyond thought. That knowing comes from the heart. Modern science has begun to confirm what ancient wisdom has always taught. The heart has a form of intelligence of its own. The heart is not merely a pump, not merely a muscle beating inside your chest. It has its own neural network, sometimes referred to as the little brain of the heart, consisting of thousands of neurons that communicate directly with the brain. What is even more fascinating is that the heart sends far more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. This means that your perception of reality, your clarity, your intuition, are not dictated by the mind alone. The heart is constantly shaping the way you think, feel, and act. When your heart is calm, your mind is calm. When your heart is in coherence, when it beats in harmony, your thoughts are sharper, your creativity flows, and your decisions align more naturally with truth. But when the heart is restless, when it is closed, when it is filled with anxiety or resentment, the mind becomes clouded, confused, and unable to see clearly. Think of the times in your life when your mind told you one thing but your heart told you another. Perhaps your mind told you to take the safe job because it was secure, but your heart whispered that your purpose lay elsewhere, that you were meant to create, to build, to pursue a dream that did not yet exist in physical form. Perhaps your mind told you to stay in a situation because it seemed logical, because it was familiar, but your heart urged you to leave, to step into the unknown, to trust in something greater. And when you look back at those moments, you can see that the times you listened to your heart, even if it didn't make sense in the moment, led you to growth, to authenticity, to the unfolding of your truest path. The heart knows in ways the mind cannot explain. This intelligence of the heart is subtle. It does not shout, it does not argue, it does not overwhelm you with charts, numbers, and endless reasoning. Instead, it speaks in whispers. It speaks through intuition, through the sense of peace you feel when you are aligned, through the discomfort you feel when you are not. The mind can be deceived by illusions, by fears, by what others say, by the noise of the world, but the heart is anchored in truth. The heart knows what is real, because it does not calculate possibilities, it simply feels resonance. When something is right for you, your heart feels expansive, light, open. When something is wrong, it feels heavy, constricted, uneasy. These signals are often more accurate than hours of mental debate. That is the underestimated power of the heart. It does not just feel, it knows. Many people confuse this heart intelligence with mere emotion, but they are not the same. Emotions are temporary waves, anger, joy, sadness, fear, that rise and fall depending on circumstances. But the heart's intelligence is deeper, more steady, more consistent. It is the compass that remains even when emotions are stormy. For example, you may feel fear in your mind and body about stepping onto a new path, but your heart quietly assures you that it is the right direction. Or you may feel excitement about something shiny and tempting, but your heart warns you that it is not aligned. To live guided by the heart means to distinguish between the fleeting noise of emotions and the enduring wisdom of the inner compass. This requires practice, awareness, and trust, because the mind is always louder, always more insistent, while the heart whispers in stillness. When you learn to tune into the heart, to breathe into it, to silence the mental chatter long enough to feel its guidance, life begins to change. Decisions no longer feel forced, they flow. You no longer waste energy trying to overthink every possibility, you learn to sense what resonates deeply and trust it. This doesn't mean abandoning logic. The mind has its role. Logic is the servant, the heart is the master. The mind calculates the details, but the heart sets the direction. The mind builds the map, but the heart chooses the destination. And when the two are aligned, when the mind serves the intelligence of the heart rather than trying to dominate it, you experience a state of clarity and coherence that is unmatched. This heart intelligence also explains why we sometimes just know things without evidence. You've had moments when you sensed danger before it appeared, when you felt someone's intentions without them speaking, when you walked into a room and instantly knew the energy without any logical reason. That is the heart's intelligence at work. It picks up signals beyond the conscious mind, reading frequencies, energies, and vibrations that logic cannot interpret. To live ignoring this intelligence is to walk through life blindfolded, relying only on reason, when in truth there is a deeper compass available at all times within you. The underestimated power of the heart is that it is not only an emotional center but also a center of profound knowing. It is the place where intuition resides, the place where truth is felt, the place where decisions are aligned with destiny rather than fear. Those who have learned to trust this inner compass move through life differently. They are not reckless, but they are fearless. They are not impulsive, but they are bold. They do not wait for every detail to make sense before moving forward. They trust the knowing of the heart and let the details unfold as they walk. This is why so many great innovators, leaders, and visionaries speak about following their heart. They did not build legacies by logic alone. They tapped into the silent intelligence of the heart, and that intelligence guided them to where their mind could not have predicted. The second truth about the underestimated power of the heart is that it is the dwelling place of love, and love itself is the most powerful force in existence. When people hear the word love, many think only of romance or fleeting emotions, but the love I speak of here is not limited to relationships or feelings. It is something far greater, something universal, something that transcends time, culture, and circumstance. It is the very energy that holds life together, the vibration that connects us to one another, the current that fuels compassion, kindness, empathy, and unity. To underestimate the power of love is to underestimate the very essence of creation. For every human being, regardless of culture, religion, or background, longs to give love, longs to receive love, and longs to live in the presence of love. The heart is the temple where this force resides, and when we open it, when we allow it to flow freely, it changes not only our lives but the world around us. The mind often tells us that power is about control, influence, or material possessions. But history itself proves that true power is not found in force but in love. Empires built by fear eventually fall, but the legacies built on love and compassion endure for centuries. Consider how the teachings of figures like Jesus, the Buddha, or countless sages across cultures are remembered not because of armies or wealth, but because of the love and compassion they radiated. Love outlives fear. Love outlasts hatred. Love expands long after material things have crumbled into dust. And yet, in our daily lives, we underestimate this truth. We think love is secondary, when in fact it is the foundation upon which everything meaningful is built. What makes love so powerful is that it transforms. Fear hardens people, anger closes them, greed blinds them. But love has the power to soften the hardest heart, to open what was closed, to bring vision where there was blindness. Love is not passive. It is an active, living energy that heals, uplifts, and rebuilds. Think of times when you felt broken, when you thought you could not continue. What lifted you in those moments? Perhaps it was the love of a friend, the kindness of a stranger, the unconditional support of family, or even the silent embrace of nature itself. Love gives strength when logic says you have none. It restores hope when reason says all is lost. This is the underestimated power of the heart. It carries a force that defies calculation, that makes the impossible possible. Love also unites. The world is full of divisions, political, cultural, economic, religious. These divisions exist because the mind creates categories, separations, and judgments. But the heart does not see separation. The heart sees sameness. The heart recognizes humanity in every face, sees the shared longing in every soul. When we live from the heart, walls begin to crumble, labels begin to dissolve, and we realize that at the core, every human being desires the same thing, to love and to be loved. Wars could end if hearts opened. Conflicts could be resolved if love were prioritized over ego. Families torn apart by grudges could be healed if love were allowed to flow again. The underestimated power of the heart is its ability to dissolve boundaries and bring unity where division once reigned. This power of love is not only directed outward but also inward. Many people live their lives seeking love externally, chasing it in others, begging for it from the world, yet they forget the most important love of all, the love that begins within the self. Without self-love, no external love can fill the void. The heart teaches us to turn inward, to forgive ourselves, to embrace our flaws, to honor our worth. This is not arrogance or selfishness, but the foundation upon which all other love is built. When your heart is filled with self-compassion, you do not need to manipulate others to feel worthy, you do not need to chase approval to feel whole. You begin to give freely rather than demand, to serve rather than control, to uplift rather than compete. The underestimated power of the heart is that it teaches us that love is not something we get, it is something we become. Love also operates on a frequency. Science has shown that emotions like gratitude, compassion, and care literally change the rhythm of the heart, creating coherence in the body and harmony in the mind. When you feel love, your entire being resonates at a higher frequency, and others feel it without you saying a word. That is why you can meet someone who radiates love and immediately feel at peace in their presence. That is why a smile from someone with an open heart can change the course of your day. Love is contagious not in words alone but in vibration. You don't need to explain it, others simply feel it. The underestimated power of the heart is that it sends out waves of energy that influence people and environments in ways we cannot fully measure. But love is not always easy. To live from the heart requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to open yourself, to risk being hurt, to forgive even when it is difficult. The mind wants to protect itself by building walls, by shutting down, by holding on to grudges, but the heart knows that walls may protect you from pain, yet they also block joy, connection, and growth. To love is to risk, but it is also to live. Every great act of love requires vulnerability, whether it is forgiving someone who hurt you, reaching out to help a stranger, or choosing kindness when you have every reason to be bitter. And yet, in those very moments of risk, the heart expands, and your life is filled with a richness that no amount of safety could provide. Love, at its highest form, is unconditional. It does not ask, "What can I get?" but rather, "What can I give?" It does not say, "I will love you if you do this," but simply says, "I love you because you exist." This is the purest state of the heart, the place where ego dissolves and only truth remains. Imagine if even a small portion of humanity lived from this space. What would the world look like? Families would be healed, communities would thrive, nations would transform, and humanity would move closer to peace. The underestimated power of the heart is that unconditional love is not just a dream, but a force waiting to be activated in every person. And so, when we speak of love, we must strip away the illusions that it is weak, sentimental, or secondary. Love is the most courageous choice, the strongest energy, and the deepest intelligence of the heart. It is the seed of healing, the builder of unity, the sustainer of life itself. Every time you choose love over fear, compassion over judgment, forgiveness over resentment, you align yourself with the greatest power on earth. The power that can rebuild not only your life but the world itself. The third truth about the underestimated power of the heart is that it is the birthplace of courage. We often believe courage is born in the mind, that it comes from willpower, determination, or sheer stubbornness. But when you trace courage back to its roots, you will discover that the word itself reveals the truth. The word courage comes from the Latin cor, which means heart. True courage does not come from trying to erase fear with logic, nor from pretending that fear does not exist. True courage arises when the heart becomes stronger than the fear, when the inner flame of conviction, love, or purpose burns brighter than the doubts that surround you. The mind may tell you all the reasons why something cannot be done, but it is the heart that whispers, "Do it anyway." The underestimated power of the heart is that it empowers you to move forward, not because fear is gone, but because something greater within you is alive. Think of the people you admire, the figures in history, or even the quiet heroes in everyday life. The common thread among them is not the absence of fear, but the presence of heart. A soldier who runs into danger to save a comrade, a mother who sacrifices everything for her child, an activist who speaks the truth despite threats. All of these acts of bravery are born not from cold calculation, but from the depths of the heart. The heart makes you step forward when logic says to retreat. The heart makes you endure when every part of you wants to give up. The heart is a warrior not because it fights battles with violence, but because it faces the storms of life with unshakable presence. When fear rises in your life, it often speaks through the mind. It fills your thoughts with what ifs, with catastrophic scenarios, with reasons why you should stay small and safe. But the heart speaks differently. It speaks in silence, in a calm assurance that even if you don't know how, even if you can't see the entire path, you are capable of stepping forward. This is why so many breakthroughs in human history came from individuals who were told, "It can't be done." Their minds heard the impossibility, but their hearts heard a deeper truth. They trusted that inner courage more than the doubt around them, and because of it, they created change that rippled far beyond themselves. Courage from the heart also has a unique quality: it is not reckless. The mind may confuse courage with carelessness, but the heart does not operate in recklessness. True courage is deliberate, intentional, and anchored in love or purpose. When a firefighter runs into a burning building, it is not a reckless disregard for life that drives him, but the deep love and commitment in his heart. When someone speaks truth to power at great personal risk, it is not foolishness, but the conviction of the heart that says, "I must do what is right." The underestimated power of the heart is that it provides a courage that is not blind, but deeply aware, guided by something greater than fear. There is also a quiet courage of the heart that is often overlooked, the courage to endure. Not all battles are fought on grand stages or in dramatic moments. Some of the greatest battles are fought in silence, in the privacy of your own life. The courage to get up every morning after loss has broken you. The courage to keep believing after disappointment has crushed you. The courage to choose forgiveness when bitterness feels easier. The courage to keep living with hope when the world gives you reasons to despair. These quiet acts of resilience are the heartbeat of true courage. And again, they are born not in the mind, which would often prefer to give up, but in the heart, which refuses to stop beating, refuses to stop trying, refuses to stop loving despite the pain. The heart as a warrior is also what makes us human. Animals survive by instinct, but human beings transcend survival through heart. It is the heart that pushes an artist to keep painting even when no one values their work. It is the heart that pushes an inventor to keep trying even after countless failures. It is the heart that allows ordinary people to rise into extraordinary lives because they refuse to let fear or defeat define them. Without the courage of the heart, humanity would never have evolved, never have advanced, never have dreamed beyond the limits of what was visible. Every innovation, every social change, every act of progress has been carried on the shoulders of those whose hearts were stronger than their fears. And yet, in our culture, courage is often misunderstood. Many think of it as bravado, as aggression, as loud displays of dominance. But true courage does not need to be loud. It does not need to prove itself with force or violence. True courage is often quiet, often invisible to the world. It is the courage of a person who chooses to be kind in a cruel environment. The courage of someone who admits their mistakes instead of hiding behind pride. The courage of someone who decides to be vulnerable, to open their heart, knowing it might be hurt. These are not the acts of a weak person, they are the acts of a heart warrior. Because the heart is strongest not when it is closed off and hardened, but when it is open and alive even in the face of risk. The underestimated power of the heart as a warrior is also found in the way it leads others. Courage is contagious. When one heart rises, others feel the pulse. When one person dares to step forward, others who were paralyzed by fear suddenly find the strength to move too. That is why leaders with heart inspire more deeply than leaders who rule by fear. Fear may command obedience, but it does not inspire loyalty or greatness. Love-fueled courage awakens something in others, reminding them of their own strength, their own capacity, their own heart. This ripple effect of courage has changed societies, toppled injustices, and built movements that shape the world. And courage is not a one-time act. It is a rhythm, just like the beating of the heart. Every day the heart beats, again and again, without stopping. Likewise, courage is not something you summon once in your life, it is something you live daily. The courage to be yourself when the world pressures you to conform. The courage to speak your truth when silence would be easier. The courage to dream when you have failed before. The courage to trust again after being betrayed. Each of these moments is a heartbeat of courage, a rhythm that sustains you. And like the heart itself, courage does not take a day off. It is there in every moment, waiting for you to trust it. The underestimated power of the heart is that it transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary ones simply by giving the strength to face life as it is. It does not promise a life without fear, without struggle, without pain. Instead, it promises the capacity to rise despite those things, to move forward even when your legs tremble, to believe even when your mind doubts. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision of the heart to move anyway. And this decision, repeated again and again, is what builds a life of depth, meaning, and unshakable strength. The fourth truth about the underestimated power of the heart is that it possesses a magnetic energy that extends far beyond what the eye can see. Most people live believing that their influence begins and ends with their words or their actions, that what they consciously choose to say or do is the only thing shaping their reality and the people around them. But the truth is deeper and more profound. Long before you open your mouth, long before you make a move, the energy of your heart is already speaking, already broadcasting, already influencing the environment. Science has confirmed this through studies of the heart's electromagnetic field, which is far stronger than that of the brain and radiates outward several feet in every direction. What this means is that every heartbeat is not only keeping you alive, but also projecting an invisible signal that others can feel, consciously or unconsciously. The underestimated power of the heart is that it shapes your world not only through what you do, but through the energy you carry. Have you ever entered a room and felt the atmosphere shift instantly even before anyone spoke? Perhaps you walked into a space where someone was angry, and though their lips were sealed, you felt the tension in the air. Or maybe you entered a place where someone was joyful, and you felt your spirit lift without knowing why. That was the magnetic field of the heart in action. The heart radiates frequencies and others around you sense them. This is why people are drawn to some individuals without being able to explain it. They say, "There's just something about this person," or "I feel calm when I'm around them," or "They have such a good energy." What they are really feeling is the coherent, harmonious, magnetic energy of a heart that is open, aligned, and radiating love, gratitude, or peace. On the other hand, when the heart is closed, when it is heavy with bitterness, resentment, or fear, that too radiates outward. You may say all the right words, you may put on the brightest smile, but people will feel something unsettled, something off. This is because the heart cannot be faked. The magnetic field it emits does not lie. It reveals what you truly carry inside. And this is why working with the heart is so essential, not only for your personal healing but for the way you affect others. When you cultivate love, peace, and gratitude within your own heart, you are not only changing yourself. You are shifting the frequency of every space you enter, uplifting the people you meet, influencing situations without force. This magnetic influence of the heart is also why love, kindness, and compassion ripple outward in ways we can't measure. A single act of love does not end with the one who receives it. It shifts their heart, which then affects their energy, which then influences others they meet, creating a chain reaction that can touch countless lives. In the same way, when your heart is radiant and aligned, you can inspire courage in someone who is afraid, hope in someone who feels lost, or calm in someone who feels anxious, without saying a word. Your presence itself becomes medicine. This is the underestimated power of the heart. Its ability to silently shape the world around you, to send ripples of influence that travel farther than you could ever imagine. The magnetic energy of the heart also attracts. This is not attraction in the superficial sense, but in the deepest, most universal law of resonance. You do not attract into your life what you think. You attract what you are, what you radiate. If your heart is heavy with fear, you will find yourself surrounded by fearful situations and people who reflect that energy back to you. If your heart is full of bitterness, you will encounter circumstances that seem to confirm your bitterness. But if your heart radiates gratitude, if it beats with love, if it pulses with faith, you will naturally attract opportunities, people, and experiences that mirror that frequency. This is why people who live with open hearts often seem lucky. It is not luck, it is resonance. The heart draws to itself the energy it sends out, like a magnet pulling in the matching frequency. Consider this. When you meet someone whose heart is vibrant, alive, and authentic, you feel drawn to them. You want to be in their presence, to learn from them, to share with them. It is not because they are perfect, nor because they have mastered every skill in the world, but because their heart field is magnetic. They are not chasing, not forcing, not manipulating, yet life flows toward them. Opportunities seem to appear, doors open, people support them, because their heart energy is aligned with abundance, with authenticity, with love. On the other hand, when someone is closed off, living from fear or ego, they often have to push and struggle to get what they want, and even when they succeed, it feels empty. The underestimated power of the heart is that it eliminates the need for constant force by creating a natural attraction of resonance. The heart's magnetism is also deeply tied to coherence. When your heart and mind are in conflict, when the mind wants one thing and the heart feels another, your energy becomes scattered, incoherent. But when the heart and mind are aligned, when your thoughts and feelings move in harmony, your entire being becomes coherent, and that coherence radiates outward. People feel it as confidence, clarity, charisma, and trustworthiness. This is why leaders who lead from the heart inspire loyalty far more deeply than those who lead through fear. This is why healers, teachers, and visionaries who embody heart coherence leave a lasting imprint on those they encounter. The underestimated power of the heart is not only in what it feels but in the magnetic order it creates, an order that others instinctively sense and are drawn to. Think also of the personal impact this has on your life. If your heart field is magnetic, then cultivating the right state within your heart is the most important work you can do. Gratitude is one of the most powerful practices for this. When you breathe into your heart and fill it with gratitude, your electromagnetic field changes. Your body heals, your mind calms, and the energy you project attracts more reasons to be grateful. Compassion is another. When you carry compassion, people feel safe around you. They open up, they trust you, they connect with you in authentic ways. This creates relationships of depth and meaning that superficial charm could never achieve. The underestimated power of the heart is that the inner work you do is never just for you. It is an investment in the frequency you send into the world, a frequency that magnetizes your outer reality. The magnetic influence of the heart also explains why transformation is not only about action but about being. You can spend your life trying to force outcomes, to control circumstances, to push your way forward with sheer willpower. But if your heart energy is not aligned, all of that effort will feel exhausting and unsustainable. On the other hand, when you focus on aligning your heart, when you cultivate peace, love, gratitude, and faith, things begin to align on their own. You meet the right people at the right time. Solutions appear when you need them. Life flows more effortlessly. This does not mean challenges disappear, but it means you move through them with a magnetic presence that brings opportunities rather than blockages. And perhaps the most beautiful part of the heart's magnetism is its authenticity. The mind can pretend. The face can wear masks. The words can say anything. But the heart reveals the truth. This is why people can sense authenticity even without proof. They can feel when someone's heart is open and genuine, and they can also feel when someone's heart is closed or manipulative. The magnetic field of the heart does not lie. It reflects who you are at your core, and that is what others are responding to. This is why the greatest influence you can have on the world is not in the perfection of your words, but in the state of your heart. The fifth truth about the underestimated power of the heart is that it is the great healer of our lives. Healing is something every human being seeks at some point. Healing of the body, healing of the mind, healing of the spirit, healing of relationships. We often think healing comes only from the outside, from medicine, from other people, from circumstances changing. And while those things play their part, the deepest healing begins in the heart. The heart is not just a muscle pumping blood, it is the center where wounds are held and where they can also be released. It is the place where pain, grief, resentment, and trauma lodge themselves, and it is also the place where they can be transformed, dissolved, and transmuted into peace. The underestimated power of the heart is that it contains the medicine we seek, if only we allow it to open. Think of how much of our suffering is not physical but emotional. A body can be strong, but if the heart carries bitterness, life feels heavy. A person can have everything outwardly, wealth, possessions, status, but if their heart carries old wounds, joy is absent. On the other hand, someone may have very little by material standards, yet if their heart is light, full of love, full of forgiveness, they radiate peace. Healing is not just the closing of wounds on the body, it is the restoring of wholeness in the soul. And the heart is the center of this restoration. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful ways the heart heals. When we are hurt, betrayed, or disappointed, the mind replays the event, storing it like a scar. But the wound itself lives in the heart. Each time we revisit it with anger or resentment, we reopen it, we keep it alive. The mind tells us that holding on to resentment protects us, but in reality, it poisons us. The heart, however, holds the key. When you choose to forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve freedom, the heart begins to heal. Forgiveness is not the erasure of memory, nor is it condoning what happened. It is the decision to release the weight from your heart, to let the wound close, to stop carrying poison within you. And as you release, you feel lighter, freer, more whole. That is the underestimated healing power of the heart. It liberates you from what your mind refuses to let go. Compassion is another form of the heart's healing. When you open your heart to understand the pain of another, you dissolve anger, judgment, and separation. Compassion allows you to see that others, like you, are carrying wounds, fears, and struggles. When you shift from judgment to compassion, not only does the other feel relief, but your own heart expands and heals. This is why acts of kindness, service, and empathy do not only benefit others, they benefit you as well. Every time you extend compassion, your heart grows stronger, lighter, and more coherent. Compassion heals both the giver and the receiver, creating a cycle of restoration that words cannot fully explain. Science has also confirmed the healing power of the heart. Studies on heart-focused emotions like gratitude, love, and care show that they improve the immune system, regulate hormones, reduce stress, and even help the body repair itself. People who cultivate these heart-based states live longer, healthier lives. This is not mystical, it is physiological. When the heart is open and coherent, the body follows, aligning its systems toward balance and healing. Stress, resentment, and anger create dissonance in the body, weakening it over time, but gratitude and love create harmony, which strengthens the body's ability to heal. The underestimated power of the heart is that by shifting its state, you can change the state of your entire being. The heart also heals by bringing peace to the mind. Many of our struggles are mental, endless thoughts, anxieties, regrets, and worries that loop without end. The mind, when left alone, can feel like a storm that never calms. But the heart has the power to quiet the storm. When you place your awareness in your heart, when you breathe into it, when you focus on love or gratitude, the mind slows down. The endless chatter softens. The storm dissipates, and a deeper calm arises. This is why meditation practices across cultures emphasize the heart, whether through prayer, breath work, or visualization. The heart is the anchor that brings peace where the mind cannot. Healing through the heart is not only personal but relational. Many broken relationships remain broken not because reconciliation is impossible, but because hearts remain closed. Pride, ego, and pain keep people locked in separation, even when love still exists beneath the surface. The heart has the power to bridge that gap. A single heartfelt apology, a single moment of vulnerability, a single act of forgiveness can heal years of silence. The mind might resist, saying, "It's too late," or "They don't deserve it." But the heart knows that healing is always possible, because love is always possible. This is why families can be reunited, friendships restored, and even enemies reconciled. Because when the heart opens, healing flows like water, washing away what seemed unhealable. There is also the personal healing of grief. Loss is one of the heaviest burdens the heart can carry. When someone you love is gone, no amount of logic can erase the pain. The mind cannot solve grief, because grief is not a problem to be solved. It is a wound in the heart, and only the heart can heal it. Healing here does not mean forgetting. It means learning to hold love without pain, to remember without breaking, to carry their presence within you as a source of strength rather than sorrow. The heart knows how to do this, if we allow it. Over time, the rawness softens, the sharp edges smooth out, and what remains is love, gratitude, and a sense that the bond is unbroken, even beyond time. That is the underestimated healing power of the heart. It teaches us that love transcends loss, and in that realization, we heal. The heart also heals by teaching us acceptance. Much of our suffering comes from resistance, resisting what has already happened, resisting what we cannot change, resisting the flow of life. The mind wants to control, to rewrite the past, to force the future, but it cannot. The heart, however, has the wisdom to accept. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means allowing life to be what it is, releasing the struggle against reality, and finding peace in the present moment. When the heart accepts, the weight of resistance dissolves, and healing begins. This is why people who live from the heart often radiate peace. They are not fighting reality, they are flowing with it. And perhaps most profoundly, the heart heals by reminding us of love itself. At our core, we are not defined by our wounds, our failures, or our mistakes. We are defined by our capacity to love and to be loved. When we return to love, self-love, love for others, love for life, we return to wholeness. The heart heals because it reconnects us with who we truly are. And so, when we look closely, we begin to see that the heart is not just a silent witness to our pain but the very place where pain can be transformed. It carries the power to forgive when the mind clings to resentment, to show compassion when judgment feels easier, to bring peace when the mind is restless, to soften grief when loss feels unbearable, and to restore relationships when distance feels permanent. This is the underestimated healing power of the heart. It takes what feels broken and teaches us that wholeness is never truly lost, only hidden. The heart reminds us that no wound is beyond its reach, no darkness beyond its light, and no weight beyond its ability to release.